As it was the norm, Final Fantasy IV introduced the new mechanic to the mix. The active time battle system was an amazing change to the regular turn-based combat, and after many years of improvement, it was the base of the battle system we have today. In Final Fantasy IV, just like before, to earn every achievement, you need to complete the main story, finish the bestiary, open every chest, find all of the hidden items, and obtain every summon, along with the typical miscellaneous stuff. The story begins with Cecil, captain of the Red Wings, the elite airship fleet of the Kingdom of Erin, visibly troubled after seizing the water crystal from Mysteria by force. After handing over the crystal to the king, Cecil asks what he intends to do with the crystals. And for asking that, the king demotes us after being told we were about to commit treason. But being demoted doesn't mean that we are out of a job, so the king demands us to deliver a bomb ring to the village of Mist. Joining us in this mission is Kain, our best friend and the commander of the Dragoons. Before resting for the day, we meet Sid.
We are same, but different.
And learn that the king has ordered him to build an airship designed to kill people. Later, while in bed, we meet Rosa, our childhood friend, and we vent about our problems. The next day, on the way to the village of Mist, we enter the Mist Cave, where we fight against the Mist Dragon. After quickly defeating it, we reach the village of Mist, where the bomb ring the king gave us begins to glow. Several monsters spawn from it, destroying the entire village and killing its inhabitants. We also discovered that the dragon we took down earlier was summoned to protect the village, and by taking him down, we killed the summoner, leaving a young girl orphaned. Having enough of the king's orders, we decide to rebel against the kingdom of Baron, and with every right to do so, the now orphan girl doesn't trust us, and in a fit of rage, she ends up summoning Titan, causing an earthquake, taking us out of the village. We wake up and Kain is nowhere to be found, leaving us alone with the young girl. After crossing the desert, we find an oasis called Kaipo, where we go to an inn so we can get some rest. While doing so, a general from Baron comes to kill the girl since she is a summoner from Mist. After successfully protecting her, she tells us that her name is Rydia. While exploring the city, we find Rosa bedridden with desert fever after leaving Baron to search for us. To cure her, we need a sand ruby which can only be found in a nearby cave. On the way to the cave, we defeat some monsters and get We enter the underground waterway where we meet a sage named Tella who asks for our help to rescue his daughter Hannah from a spoony bard. We agree to help since we are heading in the same direction. While crossing the cave, we get At the end of the waterway, we find the monster Tella was talking about, and after defeating it, we are finally outside. In the distance, we see the castle of Damcian, but at the same time, we also see the Red Wings bombarding the place, destroying everything. But before we do anything else, we loot the castle, and while we do that, we get Inside the castle, Tella finds Anna on the brink of death after she used her body as shield to protect Edward the Bard. We then learn that Edward is the priest of Damcian and that the Red Wings attacked the castle just to steal the crystal, this time under the command of Golbez. After Hannah passes away, Tella, consumed by rage, decides to get revenge on Golbez and leaves the party. Edward joins in instead, but before we do anything else, we need to save Rosa. So, we head to the Antlion cave using the overcraft that belongs to the Damcian kingdom. Inside we obtain the Sand Ruby and head back to Rosa. We use the ruby to heal her quickly, and after we do so, she tells us that she believes that Golbez is somehow controlling the King of Baron in order to collect the crystals for himself. We then decide to go to the kingdom of Fabul where the next crystal is. During the night, Edward says his final goodbyes to Anna's spirit, trying to ease the pain of losing her. On the way to Fabul, we need to cross the Hobbs Mountains, where after defeating a couple of monsters, we get On the summit, we meet a monk named Yang, where after helping him defeat a bomb made out of several other bombs, we learn that he is the High Monk of Fabul, and that besides him, the only other monks alive are students. So we team up in order to help Fabul protect their crystal. While doing so, we are pushed back until we reach the room where the wind crystal is. In here, we are confronted by Kain. Being his best friend, Cecil can't fight him, and in the last moment, Rosa appears to save us. At the same time, Golbez arrives, and after knocking everyone down, he orders Kain to take the crystal while he kidnaps Rosa. Defeated and without the crystal, we plan our next move. We need to sneak into the Baron Kingdom and steal an airship so we can then rescue Rosa and recover the crystals. But to reach Baron, we need a ship. So, after speaking with the King of Fabul, he provides one. On the way to Baron, we are attacked by a Leviathan, which wrecks the ship, leaving only Cecil alive. Cecil wakes up in the shore of Mysidia. You know, the city where the Red Wings killed a bunch of people and stole their crystal. We speak with the Elder, who tells us that Cecil must confront the darkness within himself, and for that, we need to go to Mount Ordeals, where we must transform our dark sword into one of light. To assist us in our journey, the Elder assigns two mages, Palom and Parom. We reach Mount Ordeals and we run into Tella, who came here to learn the spell Meteor, a spell so powerful that using it will be at the cost of his own life. We join forces once again, and upon reaching the summit, we are ambushed by Scarmiglione, one of the elemental lords who work for Golbez. We quickly defeat him, but that was his plan all along, because by being defeated, he unlocks his true strength. On a rematch, we defeat him yet again, and enter a hidden chamber in the summit, where Cecil battles his own darkness and becomes a paladin. On the way out of the mountain, we defeat more monsters to get back in Mysidia, we speak with the Elder, who grants us access to the Devil's Road, a device that transports us from Mysidia directly into Baron. Here we find Yang, who is now being controlled by Golbez. After beating some senses into him, he comes back to normal and joins us once again. We then learn that Rydia was swallowed by the Leviathan, and Edward is nowhere to be found. Our next step is to find Sid, who is in the Castle Baron, and to get there, we go through an old waterway to sneak in. Inside the castle, we find Vagan, the captain of the Royal Guards, who claims that he doesn't serve Golbez, but instead the Kingdom of Baron. He joins the party while we search for Sid. But it was the good old bait and switch, and he does indeed serve Golbez. After taking him out, we reach the throne room where we speak with the king. But it turns out it's not the king, but instead it's another elemental lord, Cagnazzo. We quickly take him down with the power of and after we do, Sid shows up ready to beat up the king for locking him up. Since he is the engineer responsible for the airships, he guides us towards one, but on the way we activate a trap left behind by Cagnazzo. Before the walls could crush us, Paloma and Parom turn themselves to stone in order to stop the walls. We reach Sid's airship and take off, only to be stopped by Kain, who wants to make an exchange, the Earth Crystal for Rosa. After asking us that, Kain leaves, and we get while exploring the world, we get we arrive at Troia, where we find Edward bedridden after the Leviathan incident. We continue our mission without him, as his injuries prevent him from helping us, and we also learn that the Earth Crystal was already stolen by an elf. So we head to the magnetic cave where he is. We reach the bottom of the cave, where the elf defeats us really easily because of the magnetic field, until for some reason Edward feels that we are in danger and plays a harmony in his harp that suppresses it and brings us back to life. In the rematch, the elf turns into a dragon and we quickly take him down and recover the crystal. We return to Troia and immediately head back to Edward to thank him for the assistance. In the main room of the castle, we hear Kain telling us that it's time to make the exchange. We enter the airship and we are transported into the Tower of Zot. We are then told to climb to the top of the tower to make the exchange. On the way to the top, we are blocked by the sisters Mindy, Cindy, Sandy, and we quickly take care of them. We confront Golbez at the top of the tower, and after handing over the crystal in exchange for Rosa, Tella decides to get his revenge right there by using Meteor. Golbez survives, but the shock of the spell was strong enough that the mind control he had on Kain vanished. Despite having the chance to kill Cecil, something stops Golbez after he realizes something. In the aftermath of using Meteor, Stella passes away. We rescue Rosa, and after doing so, both Rosa and Kain join the party once again. While searching for a way out, we are attacked by another elemental lord, Barbaricia. We defeat her and escape the tower, and Kain explains that there are more crystals besides these 4. The ones we are aware of are called the Crystals of Light, and in the Underworld there are 4 more crystals called the Crystals of Darkness. And Golbez plans to get all crystals so he can open up a path to the moon. So now we just need to get the Crystals of Darkness that are currently in the Underworld. To get to the Underworld, we need to find the well room and use the magma rock to open up a path. We enter the Underworld and we see the Red Wings already fighting with the locals. We are then caught in a crossfire, crashing our airship. As soon as we move, we end up fighting some monsters, and after defeating them, we get lucky for us, the airship crashed near the Dwarven castle, and while speaking with the Dwarven king named we learn that 2 of the crystals have already been stolen. While Sid goes back to try and fix our airship, the rest of the group decides to check up on the crystals. Once inside the crystal room, we are attacked by creepy dolls that later fuse together. We take down the big evil doll, and as soon as we do, Golbez enters the crystal room. As we try to fight him, he quickly takes us down, and before he delivers his final hit, a mist dragon shows up to save us. The dragon was summoned by Rydia, and with her help, we fight and defeat Golbez. Rydia puts us up to speed on what happened to her. She was taken under the Leviathan, where she was sent to the Land of Summons to train, and since time there flows differently, she is now an adult. While that explanation was taking place, Golbez decides that he isn't really defeated and only his hand remains, and that hand crawls to the crystal and flees with it. Since there's only 1 crystal left, we learn of his whereabouts and assume Golbez is going there. The plan now is to seize the 7 crystals he has instead of trying to fight him head on while he gets the last one. The crystals are in the Tower of Babel, so that's where we are going. But before we do, we explore the Dwarven castle, and after looting everything, we get we reach the tower, and on the top, we meet Dr. Lugai, who claims to be the brains behind Golbez's operation. He decides to fight us with his robot, and after we defeat it, he decides to fight us himself after transforming into a robot. After we take care of him, we learn that the last elemental lord, Rubicante, left with the 7 crystals. We also discover that the tower's cannons are preparing to annihilate the dwarves. Inside the control room, after defeating the monsters operating the machinery, they use their last breath to destroy the controls, preventing us from disabling the cannons. With the tower malfunctioning and ready to explode, Yang decides to stay behind to try to avoid something from happening. The tower starts to collapse, and as we fall to our death, Sim comes by and rescues us with his brand new airship. However, we can't take a break since the Red Wings are after us, so Sid decides to use himself as a bomb instead of throwing one? With that, we return to the surface. We return to Baron, and by speaking with Sid's engineers, we learn that Sid ordered them to place a hook on the airship so we can grab the hovercraft, and that way we can access the Cave of Avalon, which would take us directly into the Tower of Babel. And that's what we do. We reach the Cave of Avalon, and inside we defeat some monsters and get At the end of the cave, we see the Prince of Avalon, named Edge, trying to avenge the destruction of his kingdom by fighting Rubicante. However, he's easily defeated, and since our interests align, he joins the party, hoping to take down Rubicante and avenge Avalon. We return to the Tower of Babel, and just before we reach the top, we get we meet Edge's parents right before the crystal's door, and we see that they have been experimented on by Lugai and are now being mind-controlled. While taking a beating, Edge speaks with them, trying to snap them out of it. When they do, with their last strength, they say their goodbyes to Edge and die. After their death, Rubicante shows up and apologizes for what happened. Overcome with rage, Edge awakens his latent potential. Before the fight, Rubicante heals us because all he wants is a fair fight. And that's what he gets. When we enter the crystal room, we activate a trap that sends us directly to the underworld part of the tower. After exploring, we reach the hangar where we find an airship that we borrow for the meantime. We return to the Dwarven castle where we receive a necklace that allows us to enter the sealed cavern where the last crystal is and where Golbez is going. We pass by the infirmary where we see Sid. After he learns that we have an airship that can travel through magma, he leaves the bed and quickly fixes our new airship, which now allows us to proceed. While exploring the underworld, we find an unconscious Yang being protected by some sylphs who don't let us near him, so we need to come back later. We reach the sealed cavern where the last crystal is, and after successfully retrieving it without any problem whatsoever, we leave the room, only to be chased down by a demon wall. After taking care of it, Golbez reactivates his mind control over Kain, stealing the crystal from us. Since he has the 8 crystals, Golbez finally opens up the path to the moon. Luckily, the Dwarven King tells us that there's a ship submerged in Mysidia that can take us to the moon. Sid then proceeds to adjust the airship so we can leave the underworld, but before we go to Mysidia, we return to Fabul so we can speak with Yang's wife. After explaining to her what happened, she gives us a frying pan so we can smack him up. Poor Yang. We then enter the Adamant Grotto, and after giving a rat tail to the local explorer, he gives us some adamantite. We then return to the underworld so we can give this adamantite to a local smith who is going to do something for us. Back to the cave where Yang is, you use the frying pan to wake him up. Unable to join us on our quest because of his injuries, the sylphs tells us that they will fight in his stead, and now Rydia can use them as a summon. We return to Fabul to give the frying pan back, and as a reward, Yang's wife gives us a knife. We finally go back to Mysidia, and after the power of praying, the lunar whale appears and we have a ship.
Hooray!
But before we hop on board, we return to the smith back in the underworld and get back to the story. We travel to the moon and get we reach a place called Crystal Palace where we meet Fusoya, a Lunarian, or in retrospect, someone from Earth who went to live on the moon many centuries ago and to prevent the world from being destroyed, entered the deep slumber, except one Lunarian named Zemus who wanted to destroy humanity and colonize the Earth instead. We also learn that Fusoya's younger brother, Kluya, came to Earth to build the lunar whale, and while he was there, he fell in love and had 2 children, one of them being Cecil. After all of this information, Fusoya joins the party, hoping to stop Zemus. Back on Earth, the Giant of Babel has already begun destroying everything. With the help of our allies, we manage to infiltrate the Giant, which turns out to be a gigantic maze. At the top, we run into the 4 Elemental Lords, and this time we have back-to-back boss fights against them. And after defeating all of them, we get We then advance to the core of the Giant where we fight against the CPU, and after defeating it, Golbez arrives attempting to stop us, but before anything else happens, Fusoya breaks the magic Zemus had placed on Golbez's mind, making him remember everything, including the fact that he is Cecil's brother. Then Golbez and Fusoya agree to fight Zemus while we reunite with Kain, who is no longer under Golbez's control. He then helps escape the Giant of Babel, who was about to explode. All that is left is to go to the moon and fight Zemus, but before that, it's cleanup time. Back on the Overworld, we return to Castle Baron, where we fight Odin, and after defeating him, we get After spending 3 hours on the magnetic cave fighting mind flayers, we finally get the last summon item. We return to the Sylvan Cave where we find the last hidden item. Now it's time to finish Zemus. Back on the Crystal Palace, we enter the Crystal Room where we can access the Lunar Subterrane and get In the cave system, there are 4 sealed weapons that can help us defeat Zemus. The first one is the Murasame, that we get after defeating a white dragon, and next is the Holy Lance, guarded by the Plague. While going for the next weapon, I decide to grind some levels and farm the last item we need, the Pinktail. After getting it, we return to the Adamant Roro on the Overworld, where we can trade it for armor. Back on the Lunar Subterrane, we return on the search for the weapons. After defeating the Dark Bahamut, we get the Ragnarok, and after finally defeating the Ogo Pogo, we get the Masamune. As we keep going down, we find the last chest, and after leveling up the party right before the final fight, we reach the bottom floor where Fusoya and Golbez are fighting against Zemus and they quickly defeat him. However, his soul is way too powerful by being fueled with all of the hatred he accumulated. Zemus transforms into Zeramus, who easily takes down the entire party. After our allies pray for our safety and restore us back to health, Cecil uses the power of the crystal to reveal Zeramus' true form, and with it, the final confrontation. After a very hard battle, we finally defeat him, finally putting an end to Zeramus' reign of terror. With Zeramus gone, Fusoya and Golbez decide to return to the moon to enter their long slump together with the rest of the Lunarians, while Cecil and Rosa are now happily married and now are the king and queen of Baron. Final Fantasy IV was great. The story was straight to the point with no need to do extra steps to reach where it had to go. Every scene feels important to the plot and well, it's because it is. That little twist with Golbez being Cecil's brother was really unexpected and it was a nice touch to an overall great story. I just didn't like the amount of times characters sacrifice themselves only to discover that they are alive. That was used way too many times for my taste, but other than that, the characters are memorable. After all, I've already seen artwork of Kain for being the most well-known Dragoon in the series, and the joke about the Spoony Bard is something that I came across while browsing the internet several years ago, and it was nice to finally put a face to the joke. I also enjoy the fact that the game felt a bit hard. You can't just brute force your way through. You need to make every move count against certain bosses, and that added a very enjoying difficulty spike in this game. And I can't speak of the game without mentioning the amazing soundtrack it has. So far, this has been my favorite of the Final Fantasy games that I've played this year, and I truly recommend it. If you watch my whole journey, thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next one.